anyone who has registered, and just so that you know, for any future webinars that we have, as long as you register, we will send you the recording link, and everyone will get it after this today. So welcome everyone. Thank you for visiting. My name is Renee Norris, and financial planner and founder and CEO of Urban Wealth Management. So welcome to our Smart Women, because all women are smart, our Smart Women Savvy Money monthly webinar. So we have a great turnout. There were a lot of people that signed up for this event because obviously real estate industry has been a hot shot. It's been good for sellers, and it's been a buyer's market too, for a variety of reasons. But before we get started, I want you to know, some of you are new and are not familiar with who Urban Wealth Management is. We are a firm that focuses on helping people to get their financial lives in gear, and with the intention of hoping and helping them to create the lifestyle they desire and deserve. So our primary focus is working for and with women, not at the exclusion of men. We do have a number of men who are clients, but because women are overlooked and underserved, we really want to make sure that we are providing the services for them. If you've not had a chance to come to our website, we would love for you to do so, because we recently updated our website and it has just got launched 2 days ago. And so as a result, we really wanted to be able to share with our broad network of the people that we work with and what they look like. So in addition to the fact that we are focusing on women, but women of all ages as well, diverse as well. And as you will be able to see from our activities also on the site, you can go into our menu and then be able to look at what our mission, our vision, our team is, and all of our services. In addition to that, on our Smart Women Savvy Money space page, you'll be able to see a number of the activities. We do have a Smart Women Savvy Money Facebook page. It is a private group. And so there we are posting a lot of very pertinent content that will have some interest in knowing more about. So obviously here you can see what our topic is for this month. And on other pages, you'll be able to see when we go into the events section, you can also see what our upcoming webinars are. Next month, and we always host it on the 4th or the last Thursday of the month. Next month, we will have a topic about marketing. So for any of you who are in your own business, your own practice, and you want to know how you can increase your marketing and your connections, this is going to be a great topic. For May, we've got a great topic as well, because we are still in this pandemic, but since we're all doing virtual meetings for the most part, how do you look from your face down when you're doing virtual meetings? And also, what do you wear when you are having to wear a mask? So this is going to be by one of our stylists who has been amazing, and has been also one of our hosts for several of our sessions. So please be sure to come into our site, because we're really excited about the work that we've done. It took us several months to get there. So with that said, I now want to introduce you to our speaker. This topic is amazing because we have seen such a significant increase, as we know, in the real estate market. Tia Hughes, who is over here in the long hair and the yellow top, has been our speaker in the past in talking about real estate and what to expect now, which is going to be really important. She's a native of LA. That is so unusual. Most people come to Los Angeles from another state, another country even too. But she has a degree in business economics and got it from the wonderful college, UC Santa Barbara. Lovely place. Lovely place. But her professional background is pretty extensive because it's in tax accounting and marketing. So both are really important, particularly here in this real estate market. but she has extensive knowledge, not only in residential real estate, but in multifamily homes and commercials. She's currently with Compass. She started out with Coldwell Banker and now has been with Compass, has a great team that she works for, and she has a team at home now, a son that's going to be turning 2 years old shortly. So with that said, I want to turn it over to Tia and give us some tips and tricks on what we need to be expecting in this real estate market.
Thank you for the introduction, Renee. So I'm just going to do a couple of things and start sharing my screen and pin myself. Here we go. Okay, can you guys see the PowerPoint screen?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Again, thank you for the introduction. Yes, I am an LA native, born and raised here. Went to Santa Barbara for college, came right back to LA. It's only a hop, skip, and a jump. Currently live in LA with my husband and our almost 2-year-old son. I have a team, all-women team that I work with as well. I have a full-time assistant that helps with all of the marketing and admin and contracts and scheduling and everything that's on the back end, as well as another agent that helps me with some of our clients. I'm just curious, where is everyone else from? Are you guys from LA? You guys local? Are you guys across the country? Anyone live outside of LA? Okay, looks like locals. So obviously me being a California realtor, this will be from my local perspective, the topics that I'm speaking on today. And as far as questions, we can pause after each section. And if you guys have any questions on that particular section, I'd be happy to answer them at that time. So you guys have probably heard in the news that the real estate market is on fire right now. Especially here in Southern California, very, very active market. Lots of people moving, migrating here from LA. Interest rates are very low, so that's compelling to buyers. Just wanted to talk about a few of the trends that we're seeing, update you guys and share my knowledge and what I'm seeing in the local market. So real estate trend number 1, inventory is low for home buyers. So what does that mean? That means that if you are in the market to buy a home, there may not be a plethora of options. There are not a lot of people selling, but since interest rates are low, there are a lot of people that are interested in buying. So we're at lows of 22% compared to like the same time last year. So low inventory, that makes it a very competitive market for buyers. If there's a house that's on the market that looks great, that's turnkey and that's in a great location, chances are a lot of people are going to want that house. So I work with a lot of buyers in addition to sellers. And when we're seeing these houses that are very desirable, they're getting multiple offers. We're talking, 13, 14, even up to 20 offers on one home. So you can imagine the price gets, bid up. People become more aggressive with their terms and contingencies and closing timeframes. And they're writing personal, letters to the seller to make, their situation stand out. We're doing whatever we can to win the home. So it's very competitive. There's only so many houses in Southern California, and there are a lot of people that want to buy a home. So what can you do? As a buyer, you may have to sacrifice some of your wants for your needs. So, everyone wants a home office. Maybe you can't get that on your first home. So maybe that's something that you have to sacrifice, or maybe you can't be, in walking distance to your favorite coffee shop. So those are some of the things you may have to compromise on or sacrifice in order to just get into your first home or even your second home. So one thing that I tell a lot of my first time buyer clients is your first home is not your last home. So the goal is to get into, your home, build some equity, and eventually you can always sell it down the line and hopefully have enough equity to help you buy up into your more desirable, neighborhood, or with more of the features that you want in a home. Another thing you can do is expand your search. When we bought our home, we were in a neighborhood that we really, really loved, but unfortunately, we couldn't afford to buy in that neighborhood anymore. We were renting in that neighborhood. So as much as we wanted to stay, we had to expand our horizon a bit and look in, neighboring areas and different markets, and just be more open-minded to locations. So definitely you want to expand your search. That will give you more options. Obviously, a lot of people want to live in Los Angeles proper, but there are some great options in the Valley. If you are okay with moving to the Valley, or even the South Bay is a great alternative to living in LA, and your money may go a lot further as well. So a lot of times people will start their search in Los Angeles, and we're just not seeing, what they're wanting. We're not getting, accepted offers, and then we'll venture out into other neighborhoods, other areas to get more options. So try expanding your search. And another must to do item is to get pre-approved for a mortgage. You don't have time to fumble around with getting pre-approved after you find a house. So in this competitive market, you need to have already talked to a lender, know exactly how much you qualify for in terms of purchase price, know what your payment's going to be with your taxes, interest, insurance, everything, all together, so that you have a clear budget on, what's in your price range, and we can focus on, homes that meet that criteria. So definitely get pre-approved first. And what does the low inventory mean for sellers? That means great competition and higher prices for them. So this is definitely, I would say, a seller's market for most neighborhoods. Sellers, if you're interested in selling, or if you've thought about selling, now is a great time. You can get more equity out of your home just because of the low inventory. A lot of buyers are just flocking and offering, upwards of $100,000 over a list price. I kid you not, just to win a bid. So very, very good time to sell your home, since there's, not a lot of competition, and that really puts you in the driver's seat, when you have the hot commodity. Now, on the flip side, where are you going to move to? That's the common question that I get from sellers. Well, if I sell my house, where am I going to move to? So it really depends. I've had clients that have moved out of state, that have moved to, Texas, or Florida, or even Northern California. And if you, are also looking to buy, you're going to benefit from selling, but you're also going to be in that competitive market buying as well. So if possible, you may want to try to secure your next purchase before selling your home, or you can always have a contingency, which I see a lot as well, where sellers will say, my sale is contingent on me finding a replacement home. So that's always an option. And in this competitive market, sellers can get away with it. And another thing that we do when I'm representing a seller is, if you need more time in the house after the close of escrow, we'll let that be known up front. We'll say, seller wants to remain in possession of the home for 30, 45, maybe even 60 days after the close of escrow. So that means that after you, close, you have your money, your down payment, you're ready to go, you can stay in your home as you search for your replacement home. I recently got a counteroffer for a buyer that I was representing, where the seller asked for 1 to 6 months to stay in the home after the close of escrow. And guess what? My clients were open to it because, for the right home, especially if they're renting, or, they're able to stay where they are, buyers are willing to make those concessions and be flexible in order to get the home that they really desire. So definitely a good time to sell a home. So let's go on to the second trend.
Yeah, Tia, if you could, there's some people in the waiting room. I'm getting.
Oh, am I host again? Okay.
Yeah, I made you host.
Okay, no problem.
Or I can take back over the host and you can just share your screen.
Oh, I see it now. Admit, we have 2 people. Yeah, I just don't get these pop-ups as I'm presenting. So just let me know and I'd be happy to.
All right, thanks.
Welcome. Okay, well, actually, that was a good segue. Anyone have any questions on the first section that we just went over.
And everyone, you can unmute yourselves if you want to, or you can just put it in the chat box and ask a question. So I was going to say something because I get calls all the time asking, saying that there aren't that many homes available to sell in my area. And there's lots of people who are interested. To your point, where would you go if you want to stay in LA?
Right.
You'd have to rent, right?
Rent, move out of LA. That's always an option. Everyone's working from home now, right? So why do you have to stay in LA?
Well, I can't move out of LA. I got my business here, so I gotta stay here.
Or find another home in LA. So I do have a client that I'm actually working with right now that we're selling their house and they're buying a house in LA, a larger home. So we're doing them both simultaneously. And they're actually upgrading to a larger home. So you have people, move up buyers, we call them, that are moving into larger homes. And then we also have, empty nesters that are downsizing to smaller homes. I have another woman, a senior woman, that we're selling her property, and her kids are all grown, just her and her 2 dogs. So she's just going to rent for now until she's ready to buy again. If she even decides to buy again, she wants to cash out, she's done. So, you have to just kind of assess what works best for you. April, I see your hand is raised. Please unmute yourself.
Yes. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes,
No,
I can.
I have one headphone in, so I just want to make sure so it works. So we have been in the market and been looking with our realtor since January. We had an offer, then escrow, or then a state attorney and all that happened, and then they had to pull it. So I've been noticing a lot of homes have been on the market and then they go on hold. What are the meanings behind that? And then, I've been seeing that a lot with these homes lately too.
Yeah, great question, April. And my buyer clients ask the same thing. So typically when a home goes from active, I'm sorry, I'm seeing more people pop up now, from active to hold, it means hold on the showings typically. So it can mean that they've already received 12 offers and the seller does not want to show the home anymore. Sometimes if it's an occupied home, it can be inconvenient for the seller to make it look picture perfect and get out and find somewhere to put their dogs, and people are doing homeschooling. So it's a lot of, work for a seller if it's occupied. And if they've gotten enough activity and they have enough offers, they'll just put it on hold because they're just saying that we're not showing it anymore. Now, in the circumstance that you mentioned of a probate sale, that's a whole other conversation. But a lot of times with the probate, they could be waiting for court confirmation. A lot of times, I'm working on a probate sale right now as well. A lot of times the date gets delayed. I can't remember the term they use, but they keep pushing back the court date. So they're kind of in a standstill as they wait for an administrator to be appointed and for the court, to confirm a date. So those are some of the things that could be happening in the background when a property is on hold status. If the seller has actually accepted an offer, typically it will go to what's called active contract now, or accepting backup offers. So that's a time period where the buyer is doing their due diligence, they have contingencies, and they could still potentially cancel. So the seller, may consider backup offers if they don't already have one. And then the next stage after that is pending. So that's when a buyer has removed all of their contingencies and they're confirming with the seller if they're going to, close the sale. And at that point, there's typically no more showings.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, so we will move on to the next trend. While real estate prices are still on the rise, we're seeing, sellers, as I mentioned, being able to, cash out and get more equity out of their home. The market has grown, or appreciated, we'll call it 15% about just over the last year. So that's again attributed to low inventory and higher prices for buyers obviously isn't ideal. So some of the things I like to, tell my buyer clients to do is, don't overextend yourself. Don't, go over your budget. If your budget is 900,000, maybe you want to be looking at homes up to 800,000, because that will leave you some room, to go over the asking price, which you typically have to do in this market, and to stay, within your budget. But if your budget is 900 and you're looking at houses that are priced for 900, typically they're going to sell for more, and then you could be putting yourself, in a tricky situation. And sometimes people qualify for more than what they're comfortable with in terms of their monthly payment. So you may qualify to buy a home up to $1 million, but based on your expenses and what you got going on in childcare and, groceries and gas, everything's expensive. You may not want to have, this high mortgage payment of $1 million. Maybe, up to 900 is more comfortable for you. So that, so although prices on the rise, I always just tell people to, stay within your means and look for homes that are below your budget, just to give you room to be competitive and not exceed your maximum budget. So the rule of thumb is your house payment should be no more than 25% of your take-home pay. That's kind of a rule of thumb, and that includes your total mortgage payment. So that's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Your full, payment that you have every month should not exceed 25% of your monthly take-home pay. So just kind of keep that in mind. Another tip is try to get to 10 to 20% down payment, ideally. I know it's tough in California where, prices are really high, especially if you're a first-time buyer, to have a down payment that large. But if you get to 20%, that's ideal, because you get to avoid private mortgage insurance, or PMI, which is an extra fee that you have on top of your mortgage that's just going to make your monthly payment more expensive. So if you can get to 20%, if you can borrow some money from some family, or maybe take out some retirement. I know Renee's probably going to say, don't take out your retirement account. Try, but if it's not feasible, do not let that hold you back from buying a property, because typically the market will appreciate faster than you can save. So a lot of times people will do FHA, which is a Federal Housing Administration type loan, which is 3.5% down payment. It's one of the low down payment options. In that scenario, you do have to pay the extra PMI. So just be sure to factor that into your monthly payment. But at least you can get in your house. And eventually, typically you can refinance down the line. Once you have enough equity, you can refinance and then get the PMI off your payment down the line. So you do have that option. And another thing you may want to consider is looking at a 15-year mortgage. If you know that this is your starter home, it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, you're planning to expand your family, you're probably not going to be there for that long, or, for beyond 15 years, you may want to consider a 15-year mortgage where you can get a lower interest rate. Now, if you're not sure, you think that there's a chance that you may stay in a house for 30 years, which is a very long time, then maybe that option isn't for you. But typically, on average, most people that are getting into their starter home move like within 5 to 7 years. So if that's something that you feel confident with, then you may want to consider a 15-year mortgage. And then another good resource just for calculating what your monthly payment is going to be, like on a house-by-house basis, is Zillow. They have a great mortgage calculator on their website. So you can kind of just plug in, if I go to this purchase price, what is my payment going to be? The one piece of information that you do need to put in is what the tax rate is going to be. It doesn't know what state you're in, so it just kind of leaves that blank. So the property taxes for California is 1.25%. So you just plug that in with your interest rate, what you're planning to put down, and it will tell you exactly what your monthly payment will be. So good tool to use when you're calculating what your monthly cost might be. Any questions on that section?
There's a couple of questions here. So one is, can you provide some input about first-time home buyers? Because I know that there are some special rules that will allow them to put down less. and maybe also in certain areas of the city where they can put down minimal amounts, like 3% down or something like that.
Yeah. So a mortgage lender would be your best source for different loan programs. And I'd be happy to connect you with some of my loan partners. I'll have my contact information on the last slide. But in general, I would say FHA is by far the most popular program for first-time buyers. And you don't even technically have to be a first-time buyer. You only can have one FHA loan at a time is really their rule. So even if you had an FHA loan, I don't know, 3 years ago, but you sold that house and you no longer have an FHA mortgage in your name, you can do the program again. So that's the most popular one. But there are VA loans, like if you're a veteran, you're your spouse, where it's 0% down. There's also conventional programs that allow 3% down. The drawback with the 3% down, though, is they have limits on the purchase price, which may not work depending on the location that you're looking in. So FHA has the highest purchase price limits, which is why it's probably the most popular here in Southern California. But there are the 0% down if you're a veteran, and the 3% down conventional option. And then as far as different areas, you have to check kind of area by area, but some areas do allow for the 0% down as well. Again, a local lender will be able to tell you like the zip codes and whatnot that allow for the no money down. Now, one thing to be aware of in this competitive market, the lower down payment that you have, although these programs are great and definitely don't shy away from them if that means, you know, not getting a house, your offer becomes less competitive because a seller wants, you know, the strongest, you know, qualified, highest down payment offer that's on the table. So if we're talking about, you know, 13 offers, you know, typically 80% of them are probably going to have 20% down. Where are people getting this 20% down? I don't know. But people do have it. So when kind of comparing apples to apples, depending on the area that you're looking in, your offer may not be as competitive in terms of financial strength. And not only because of the down payment, but it gives the seller more confidence. For instance, if there's an issue with the appraisal. So if the house, let's say, you know, didn't appraise, you know, do you have an extra 20,000 to throw in if there's an appraisal issue? And if someone has, you know, 20-30% down, they probably have, you know, room to wiggle within their loan and cover a shortage. But if you're at the minimum 0, you know, to let's say 3.5% down, it might be more challenging. Now that also kind of varies by area, because if you're looking in certain areas of LA where the price point is, let's say, I would say like under 600, typically most buyers in that price range are going to be FHA. So depending on your price range, it might be just fine. But when you're looking at homes, let's say 800 and above, then typically those lower down payment programs or no money down programs are not going to be as competitive.
All right, good. A couple of other questions that came up. Is there a question regarding ADUs? Does that raise the appraisal on your existing house?
Oh, good question. And we're actually going to speak a bit about ADUs on the last slide, I think it is.
Okay, but then let me go to the next question. What is the debt to income ratio recommendation or limits?
Debt to income, I mean, as far as like loan qualifications, that's really a requirement for commercial properties where the lender requires a debt to income ratio. Now, as far as, you know, just regular home buyers, it varies based on what interest rate you want, what your overall financial picture is. So that would be more of a question, you know, specifically for your situation, and I'd be happy to connect you with the lender. But as I mentioned before, the general rule of thumb is you don't want that your monthly payment to exceed 25% of your take-home pay.
All right, makes sense. Okay, let's go to the next one.
All right. So the really hot trend is the low interest rates, and I feel like it's becoming or has become even more hot recently because they're starting to go up. So Not significantly. I mean, we're still at historic lows. We have interest rates under 5%, which, we're spoiled complaining about them going up. There was a time where people were paying double-digit interest rates. So they are starting to creep up a bit. Experts are saying it's because of inflation and whatnot. So definitely you want to keep an eye on the interest rates if you're looking to buy a home, because interest rates will affect your monthly payment more than the purchase price. So a slight increase in that interest rate could, take you out of your desired price range. So trying to lock in while interest rates are low is definitely to your advantage. We're currently seeing, interest rates in the 2s, under 3. People are refinancing to take advantage of these low interest rates as well. But they are starting to creep up. So another thing that you'll have to consider when you're purchasing home is when to lock the rate. That's always like the hot question, usually floating your rate. And locking the rate means like the rates change every day, the interest rates, depending on the market. So you have to, decide, kind of take a gamble, am I going to lock today, tomorrow, next week, depending on if they're trending up or down. It's a bit nerve-wracking, but typically your lender will help you decide on when the best time is to lock your rate. As I mentioned, they're still at historical lows, but they are starting to creep up a bit. And I believe that's also the reason why a lot of people that may have been on the fence about buying a home are now getting off the fence, because they want to take advantage of these low interest rates as well before they go up too high, and certain homes, may no longer be in their price range. So this definitely helps affordability for buyers, just having, these historically low rates. And for sellers or homeowners, I'll say, if you're not ready to sell right now or in the near future at all, definitely take advantage of the low rates by refinancing. There's mixed feelings on that. One thing to be aware of when you refinance is you typically start your mortgage time frame over. So you may end up paying more over the long haul. You really have to look at the numbers. But if it's more important for you to have like a lower monthly payment, then it might be a good option for you. So again, something to discuss with your loan broker. Donna, did you have a question? Please unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, thank you so much. I do have a question. I'm just trying to figure out, so I'm going to I'm going to try to refinance my own home, refinance my house, right? So I wanted to know, is it more advantageous for you to pay your property taxes separate and homeowner insurance? Because some people are like, oh, you just can include it in your mortgage, but I feel like if I include in my mortgage, it's going to make it more expensive. And then I'm wondering, if you include it in your mortgage statement, are you going to keep paying your property taxes over time with interest, opposed to just paying it separately, maybe twice a year?
Oh, very good question, Donna. So yeah, it's called escrow. When you escrow the taxes and insurance for your home, no, you do not pay more over time. It's the same payment, just broken down into installments. And they go into what's called like an escrow account. And then your lender just, pays the lump sum for you when it's due. So it's really just a way to help you save the funds, every month, a little bit by little bit, so that you have the full, amount for your taxes and insurance. So if you're able to just pay those separately on your own, and, you can just pay them, twice a year, once a year, whatever, then yes, it would definitely make your monthly mortgage payment lower because you don't have that tacked on.
Right.
But, you prefer budgeting, and having a consistent monthly expense without, the bigger expenses popping up twice a year, then you may want to, consider keeping it escrowed, so that it's just you're saving for it, and then it's paid. But there's no additional like interest or charges or anything like that. They're just dividing up the payments.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
We have one more question, and then let's head into our next section here, because obviously we're going to be going past 5:15 today, because this is a great topic. So Wayne asked us a question: when do you expect housing prices to decline?
Good question. And I was going to touch that on the end, but I'll just loop it. If we have more time, I'll just loop it in now. So that's been the question, I would say, since I feel like people have been asking that since like 2013 or something, but prices have continually appreciated over the years. And even just, over the last 2 years, or even let's just say, 2020 with everything that happened and, starting off with the pandemic and whatnot, we did see like a slight freeze in the market where, there was just a lot of uncertainty, people were fighting for toilet paper and they just, the market kind of froze. So if you bought in that little window, I would say between like March and June, you probably got a good deal because everyone was just afraid and people were canceling escrows and, it was Armageddon. So, that was like a specific window of time. But after May, like June, people, were like, okay, I'm going to put on my mask. I got my hand sanitizer. I can social distance. I've been cooped up in my house for 3 months. I need a bigger house. I'm about to go and find a bigger house. So the market, I would say since like June just has become more and more competitive. So I don't see, it getting any easier just working with buyers and also listing homes, like the amount of demand. Economists are saying the same thing, that they don't foresee a crash coming anytime soon, but, there's always the unknown. We never know what may happen in the future. But as of now, no one is predicting a crash or for prices to come down. So I would say if you wait now, you might even have higher prices down the line and higher interest rates. So that can make it even, more tough for you to get into a home.
Thank you.
I can't see your name, ma'am. Can you see? There's no name on it.
For another question?
Yeah, there was another. I see 2 hands raised.
There are. So there was just a comment that the new stadium and the Olympics will keep the prices up. Probably there in Inglewood. Yeah. All right. Okay, let's go to the next slide because this is great content.
Oh yeah, did I even click for the last one? Sorry if I didn't. We talked about mortgage rate. Okay, so another hot topic or trend that I wanted to talk on that I've actually have been dealing with even personally are tenant-occupied properties. So those properties are definitely more risky now just because there has been a moratorium on evictions as well as rent increases due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So what does that mean? That means a tenant could stay in a property without paying rent, and you can't evict them. You can't really do anything about it. So that puts, landlords in a tricky situation. I personally have 5 tenants, and 2 of 5, stopped paying their rent. One of them, with a little bit of pressure, he did move out voluntarily. The other is like, I'm not going anywhere. I know my rights. So if you're interested in buying an investment property or something that's tenant occupied, be sure to do your due diligence to get records to make sure that the tenants have been paying on time, canceled checks, bank statements, whatever verification documentation to ensure that you're going to be inheriting a solid tenant that is currently paying their rent. Now, that doesn't really protect you down the line because they could still get COVID and stop paying. They can lose their job. Anything could happen. And as of now, there is a moratorium on evictions, and they keep extending it as well. So I think the current one was supposed to be over like this month or last month, and they extended it another 3 months. So every time the moratorium is supposed to end, it keeps getting extended. Now, there are some options for landlords or property owners. They have a new program where there's a subsidy on the rents. You can get, I think it's up to 80% of your rents, depending on your qualifications. Definitely look into that with your local housing authority. And then with your lender, there's also, some lenders have the option of doing forbearance on your payments. So definitely you can check into that, but also be sure to check the fine print and to make sure that there's no negative impact, on your credit or your standing by taking advantage of, certain programs. So just look at the whole picture when you're checking into these programs. And then if you're selling a property that is tenant occupied, On the reverse, you want to do the same thing and give the buyer as much information as possible to make them feel, comfortable and confident that you have strong tenants that are paying their rents, show records, receipts, documentation. And if you have a tenant that's not paying, you have to disclose that. You have to let them know that as well, because the new owner is going to be inheriting, that tenant. And they have to factor that into their, financial picture, that they're not going to be able to collect income on this specific unit for the unforeseen future. So you have to disclose that to the buyer, which, they're going to factor into the value of the property as well. So just some things to be aware of. And then even if you're buying a house to live in for yourself, that's tenant occupied, definitely try to get it vacated before you close escrow. So there are some houses on the market where, the owner just has a tenant in there, but they are selling it as an owner occupied home for someone to live in. And maybe they just have a tenant renting. And, you just want to make sure that, the property is delivered vacant so that you don't have to worry about evicting or them not paying, them squatting, them not leaving. There's just so many things that can come up after the close of escrow that if you can avoid, definitely try to avoid and just get it delivered vacant. All right. Anyone have any questions on that?
No, but I do want to make a comment, and you really make a good point. It was just stated in the news, I think it was a couple of days back, and it was some buyers, they were cash buyers, purchased their dream home and paid cash. And then when everything closed, the seller refused to come to the door. He's not moving, he's not budging. The news reporters are knocking on the door and still no response. So I guess he figured out there was some type of loophole, and because of the moratorium, he's just staying there.
Yeah, it's really tough. So typically the way the contract is written by default, the seller doesn't have to move out or deliver possession is what it's called, meaning give you the keys until I think it's up to 6 p.m. on the day of closing. But in order to close a few days in advance, you have to sign your loan documents, you have to wire your down payment, you have to do all of these steps in advance to ensure a timely closing. So, ideally the seller will have moved out a few days, prior when you're doing your final walkthrough, just so you can see the space. And typically when you're also towards the end of the process, you'll see moving boxes and things like that. And for properties that are owner occupied, I always ask, has the seller found a replacement home? Where are they moving to? Like, I want to make sure they have a place to go, right? Because you don't want to get to day 29 and they're like, oh, I haven't found another home. So when you do your final walkthrough of the home, which typically within 5 days of closing, if you don't see any boxes packed, that could be a red flag. So you definitely want to, check with your realtor, see what's going on, make sure that they have, a replacement home before you do those final steps of, signing your loan documents and wiring your down payment, just to make sure, when you get to closing day, you don't have a problem that you're inheriting. Okay, and last trend, this won't take too long, just kind of a fun one, bigger is better. So with everyone working from home and schooling from home, I would say the top reason for most people moving is more space.
Can we see number 5?
What's that? Oh, did I not skip it?
Can we see that sign? There we go.
Yes, so what were people saying? People are having all these COVID babies, right? So people are expanding their families. They're working from home. They need a home office. They're, working from home, entertaining from home, schooling from home. Home is like your central location for everything. So more space is better. People not only want home space, but also outdoor space. So you want to have, a balcony, patio, deck, yard. If you have a pool, oh my goodness, your house is going to be in high demand. Right now, people that want pools, the wait just to get a pool, like if you're buying a house that does not have a pool, is a year out now just to even get a pool. So if you have a pool in place, definitely a plus. And then also to touch, someone mentioned ADU. So ADU stands for accessory dwelling unit. Very popular here in LA. It's basically when an owner converts their garage or even builds on top of their garage another house or a suite, a small suite. They can be, a studio up to 2-bedroom ADUs that I've seen. So you can typically rent them out. A lot of people do short-term rentals, which varies by location. So definitely check on your local restrictions. I know a lot of times people, rent them out short-term Airbnb, which is considered anything under 30 days is considered short-term. And you may not supposed to be doing that for your area. So definitely check with your local restrictions. That's one of the major appeals, is to be able to do the short-term rentals with an ADU. But the whole idea with ADU was to solve the housing shortage in LA and provide more options for, regular renters. So the argument is, if you're just doing it for short-term rentals, Airbnb is not really addressing our housing shortage for people that need, long-term rentals, which is why they created the whole, ADU allowance for someone to have an extra unit on a single family zone lot. So ADUs are definitely in demand. There are a few pockets in LA where they're very popular, and all of the developers or flippers, as they're remodeling the homes, they're just go ahead and converting the garage to an ADU so that it's there. And that definitely increases the value of the home by having that additional accessory dwelling unit on your property. And even if you can't get a home that has an accessory dwelling unit, if the property does have, an adequate garage space, you could always build one down the line, have a contractor do it, and get it done on your own without having to buy one that already has one in place.
Do you find though that a lot of these that have ADUs have families? Their parents might be living.
Yeah, it really goes both ways. So a lot of times people like the flexibility of it, because you can do like the short-term rentals, or if you have family that live out of the area, you can have them, stay there. But some people do just occupy it all with their family. Like if they have a mother-in-law or a father-in-law or a sibling, where they just want to have them close by, close but not too close, right? As you say, it's popular for that. I've seen mother-daughter, a lot of variation with the use of the accessory dwelling unit. And then you could always just rent it out to, a regular tenant. But then again, remember, there's a moratorium on eviction. So just be careful when you're signing a long-term lease.
Yeah.
I'm curious. There's a movement. Well, I don't know. Well, I guess it is a trend, but there are groups of people who are deciding to live in what they call community. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing that happening? These are people who are not related, but they are getting together and just buying a home, and it's sort of like an adult version of a rooming house, of a sorority, I guess. Are you seeing that?
No, not really. I have worked with friends that have kind of pulled together to buy an investment property, for sure, where, a few friends, colleagues, they want to buy usually an income property, a duplex, triplex, 4 units. But as far as, strangers pulling together for like a single family home to live in, no, I've not seen that personally.
Okay.
It is popular for rentals, though. I have seen that kind of a group home setting for rentals. And one other, I have my contact information up. One other thing I wanted to share with you guys, if you're not looking to buy or sell this year in 2020, if you are a homeowner, definitely still track your equity. I have a great tool, a resource that I share with my clients called HomeBot. My clients have like raved about it, where it sends you monthly updates on, what the approximate value is of your home, what your options are in terms of, refinancing, or, paying down your mortgage, Airbnb, short-term rental Airbnb options. Just kind of gives you a lot of information just to kind of assess where you are, where your property is, monthly, so that, you can kind of keep track of the market. And, once you are ready to make a move, you're kind of armed with that information. So if you're interested, just send me an email. I'll be happy to sign you up for that program.
Yeah, that is a great program. Do you have a copy or a template that you can share? She's provided it for me, and it is amazing. It shows you what the current value of your home is. If you decide to rent it, like she said, if you decide to Airbnb it, it gives you pricing. And also, of course, you decide you want to sell it. But, it gives you all these different options and of different ways to look at your property, which is great. And so it's a fabulous app, and it does provide you with quite a bit of oversight, and being able to say, okay, well, maybe I need to Airbnb it just a few times during the year, and I'd make this amount of money. Oh, okay, good. Right. So very good. Excellent. Excellent.
I don't have a demo on it because it has everyone's specific information.
Yeah. Okay.
If you are interested, just send it to me. And here's like a side note. I probably shouldn't even say this, but one of my friends, somehow my database got put on HomeBot for a home that she's renting. It's not the property that she owns, right? So she's seeing all this information, like this. It's all public information for the record. Anyone can look this up. She's seeing all this information on the house, and then, it's not really her house that she owns, but it prompted her to want to buy the house, seeing this information. She's like, oh, wow, see, this is how much, it's worth. This is the potential, she's like, she made an offer to the owner. Can I buy your house? Based on the information she was receiving from, the HomeBot reports.
Was she able to buy it?
No, the owner said no.
They knew it too.
No, she has so much equity in the house. She's like, no, I'll keep collecting rent forever. So they always say, you're always paying a mortgage. The question is, are you paying your mortgage or someone else's?
Yeah, exactly. All right.
And if you're not looking to buy this year, my tip for you is just to continue to save for your down payment, so that when you are ready, you can have a sizable down payment, work on your credit, pay down your debt. And even if you're not ready, like I said, right now, even if you want to talk to a mortgage lender, they can still give you great tips and advice on what you can do now to prepare to buy a home down the line. You may have some things on your credit that you weren't even aware of that you may have to, pay off, negotiate, get another rescore. So the sooner, the better, just to get started, to know where you are so that you can plan and prepare for the future.
Excellent. Excellent. So, just take a couple more minutes. So for anyone who's interested in taking advantage of that, what info do you need? They just need to reach out to you, right?
Yeah. Just send me an email. The best email is on the screen, the info at Tia Real Estate, and just say you're interested in HomeBot. Send me your name and your property address, and we can sign you up.
Excellent. Fantastic. Thank you so much. This was a great session, and we got a lot of amazing information and ideas and thoughts because, as you said, the real estate market, this is a hot shot. So this is a great time, whether you're on the selling side or on the buying side, because interest rates are low, and they might rise a little bit, but you don't see that they're going to go up tremendously.
Correct.
But everyone will get a copy of this recording. So if there was some thoughts or some ideas that you really wanted to revisit, you'll be able to do that. And of course, you will have Tia Hughes's contact information. So with that said, thank you, everyone. Hope that we will see some of you here or all of you next month. And feel free to reach out to Tia to ask for her support and to support her, because we're all about supporting women and people of color.
I meet both those criteria.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you, everyone.
For your attention. Have a great day.